Welcome to Reform Custom Builds with Justin. Today we're going to work on a cedar and epoxy sign. Looks like this. Turned out pretty decent. First, I'm going to take my boards and I'm going to joint them the best way I know how. I'm not so good with a joiner, so this is the next best thing. If you don't have a joiner, this is the way to do it. Use your track saw or make a track. Cut the studs straight. I use a straight edge to make sure that there's no light coming through, make sure that I actually straighten them out the way that they need to be. Once I'm satisfied that they are straight as they're going to be, I move on. I get each one of them cut the exact same way. After joining one side of each one, move to the table saw, joint the other side, just run them through, straight as an arrow. Once each side is straight, I set my table saw to cut to the exact width that I need done, and then we move on to laying out for the glue up. Checking out each board, positioning them together, making sure it's the direction and colors that I want to go together. Once that's done, we're going to move on. We're going to glue it up, put it together, start a sign. I use these aluminum rails just to keep my project off of the actual tabletop so I don't oops and glue to it. And it allows me to wipe underneath and just keep my glue clean. Once I've got everything set the way I want it, tip my boards up, push them together, and let's start using some Tide Bond 3. Water resistant because this will be outdoors. Nice even coats. Now let's put them together. A few clamps here, a few clamps there. We're going to clamp the bottom, we're going to clamp the top. Try and keep even pressure all the way across. Now we move to our sign template. I hand drew this on the kitchen table based on what my client actually wanted on their sign. I use my drill, poked holes in each one of the letters, slowly but surely cut out all the end pieces. There you go. Now, double-sided sticky tape. Put it in the position that it needs to go in. Make sure it's straight. You only get one shot at this. Okay, maybe you could get two, but make sure it's right the first time and you don't have to go back and do it. And then the handy-dandy router. We're just going to route all the way around this sign so that we can fill it in with a crimson epoxy. We're going to gently pry up our template. Try not to break it because I need it again later. And I apologize, I did not show routing out the entirety of the Oklahoma section. But here you are, getting to see the crimson epoxy go in. We're just going to wipe it into each corner. Epoxy will self-level. We just want to make sure that it gets into all of the areas. Pop out any of the bubbles that are coming up. And there will be a few. I did not pre-seal, so had a few bubbles continue to come up, but we got it. Put a little pattern inside of there so that it'll come up later in the middle of the sign. Just give it its unique look. That is nothing more than a little popsicle stick or stirring stick. I'm just using the zigzag through there. Now once you're done with that, you do got to go back. That's going to put a few more bubbles inside of it. And just continue popping them with the torch. But it does look kind of neat. Here I'm using my stencils and I am spelling out the words that need to go underneath it. Once they are on, as far as the paint goes, I'll go back with the router, route it out, and we'll fill it with black epoxy. Here we get the handy-dandy Bosch router and we take off. Just one letter at a time. In between I'll blow it out with the air hose. Put a second layer of the crimson on there while I am allowing it to dry and pour my letters just little bit by little bit until we have it all completely filled in. There it is. Sanded it with the drum sander. I will show you drum sanding in a little bit. There it was with rubbing alcohol, and now I'm tracing out the inside, marking out what I need to route out. Here we go again. A long drug out process, but it really turns out awesome. Check this out. A little rubbing alcohol, not only to make it shine, but to clean it up, get the dust out of it. And we start prepping for the cream color to go in the middle. Little mix of the super glass epoxy system, which is one of my favorites. Some titanium white. We're gonna mix it up really well. I will tell you honestly, I don't like that specific white, so I won't be using it again, but it did do what I needed it to do for this job. A little yellow with some shimmer in it, so that we get a cream color instead of just a solid white. And we fill in all the areas. I'm gonna use a little scraper here just to make sure everything is filling in the way it needs to, everything's properly coated. But the letters being in the middle of it, no way to spread. You just kind of want to make sure that you're moving that epoxy around into the areas so that everything is filled up properly. Remember, you do want it to be a little bit proud because epoxy is going to shrink a little bit. And off to the sander we go. We're going to run it through the drum sander till we get everything flush and even. It takes a little bit, and then we're going to go from 80 to 120 to 180 to 240 on this. Use your pencil, make your lines so that you can make sure that you are sanding evenly, and just go slowly. I go from side to side, and then I go up and down, and I just keep going till all the pencil lines are moved. And then I change my grits, keep drawing with the pencil, keep removing the lines until everything's good. Now I'm going to straighten up my board with my track saw. Straighten up each side, turn it around. We'll straighten up the other side real quick. Make sure I'm square. Couple passes so that you're not trying to take off too much at one time. We'll round over the corners, or the edges, sorry. Just makes it a little softer, not only on the touch, but on the eyes as well. Now we are spraying outdoor UV protectant spray, just to try and make sure that we are going to be protecting on that, especially on the epoxy, because epoxy is not necessarily an outdoor thing. And I put about 10 coats on there. It calls for 3 to 6. Here I am working on the post. I'm going to take this 103-inch cedar tree and I'm going to cut it in half after I've cleaned off all the bark on it. Measure up 30 inches. That's how much I want to be off the ground after it's in the ground itself. And I'm going to cut 1.5 inches in so that my sign can actually sit on it using the bandsaw. Once I've got this cut complete and done, I'm going to go back and I'm going to finish off the cut with my reciprocating saw. And that stuff is really pretty on the inside. Mark out my spaces where I want my legs to go, pre-drill some holes through it. Each one just barely touching the actual sign itself. Come back with a marked bit, 3/8 inch, so that I can do some inserts to bolt into the sign with. That's what you see me putting in here. So that in the event someone needs to be able to take it off and do anything with it, they can. I'm also spraying the legs over there. Here we go. We are going to go ahead and install legs. Just tighten them down. This also makes it easy in the event that these cedar posts were to rot out at any point in time. You can come back and you can change them with any other posts. You just pre-drill some holes and go. But check it out. It has a glass-like finish. Wipe it off with some alcohol to get the dust that I've put on it after continuing to work around it. And there it is. About as beautiful as a cabin sign as I have ever seen in my life. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the build. If you have any questions or comments, by all means leave them down there and ask me. I will do my best to answer.